Hey guys, welcome back here to my channel and to a new little project. This is going to be called Pier. I'll get into more about that in a second, but this is basically the vanilla build for this month's Diorama challenge for October 2021. And basically me and Dan built this coaster together. This is completely a vanilla layout using the steel coaster, and the challenge is to build something, theme it or do something pretty with this coaster and the map. And of course, the rules being that you can only use vanilla assets, so no mods, no of those construction anarchy tools or Freedom 2K and all those nice little things that make building so much fun. And I'm not gonna lie to you, this has been a real struggle for me. I found going back to the base game really difficult. Playing with just vanilla has been a challenge. So before I get more into that, basically this is going to be Paradise Pier, and I was inspired by, of course, Disney California. It's now known as Pixar Pier, but I wanted to do a little throwback and use that as an inspiration, and I felt like that was the easiest thing for me to try and achieve, because I'm not that experienced and skilled with the vanilla game. And so I basically went and did a few little supports using the wooden in-game support maker, and the two drop towers there, I just basically put some shapes up the middle of them and shaded those in a blue color, and that's basically all I kind of played around with off camera before I was kind of like, okay, I think I'm going somewhere, and then I hit record, because I did stare at this map for a very long time. So if some of you know Disney California Adventure quite well, then you would know that previously, when it was Paradise Pier there, they had the drop towers, the SNS shot and drop towers, which are not there anymore, unfortunately. But decided that would be like, I thought that would just be like a quite cool thing to add in, do something quite similar to those. So that like filled in that little area at the end there, and then having like this, the coaster's quite long, so I thought having like a long path going down the center would be quite nice, and I can kind of make that more of like a pier type thing. So I tried to add a few little flat rides on there, like the Ferris Wheel there, and of course I already have the drop towers. I did try and squeeze one more in, but it wasn't really working. And then to conquer not having any path cover mods, I'm actually using shapes, and the cube is working out pretty good. And thank God that there is a 45-degree angle shape, which means I can kind of do diagonal stuff, which comes in quite handy later on, so I can do some diagonal pathing using the shapes. So that's quite good. Obviously I can't do raised paths with the shapes, because obviously you would see the whole cube. But yeah, I'm going to get around it. Literally, like, the more I was playing around with the pieces, the more kind of creative I started getting. It just took me quite a while to get into it and to really start figuring out how to do things. I've had to approach things from a different angle, from a different way, from how I would normally do it, just simply because it's not possible to do some things that I would normally do. But I must say, getting rid of the in-game supports, I do it the same way I always do it, by using the stump and sinking that under the ground. So that's the way I'm getting rid of those supports. And then I don't really, I mean, I think doing some custom supports is possible with like the shapes maybe. I did have a little go, but I wasn't really getting anywhere that I was happy with. And so I decided to just completely support the stuff using like a wooden kind of structure. And then also there's some really cool like steel frame pieces in the walls part of the structure set. And so I've gone ahead and just kind of filled in gaps and done the diagonals with those. And also, of course, shapes is going to be a huge help in this build, because the shapes really do make building things a lot easier by making cool little signs and shapes, just like what I'm doing now. And obviously the text feature as well will come in handy as well along this kind of little journey that I'm going on. But yeah, like I said, this was really a struggle, and I actually found it more of a struggle than I thought it was going to be, if I'm honest with you. I thought, vanilla is fine. There are a lot of things you can do with vanilla in this game, don't get me wrong. I think it was just the fact that I haven't played with just vanilla in years. So going back and disabling all the mods actually was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And I really applaud those people out there that play vanilla and actually achieve amazing outcomes, because it is really difficult, I'm not going to lie. I can imagine that doing vanilla with construction anarchy and Freedom 2K is a completely different ball game, because you can move the pieces wherever you want to move them. The thing I find hard is like the border pieces are locked to the grid, and so you really can't put them where you want to. They only go in certain places, so that's really hard. And also the text sign, it only moves up like at quarter increments, which is really annoying because sometimes I like to build like a space to put a sign, but then I actually can't fit the text in the center of it because it either goes above or below, if that makes sense. So that's really annoying. Another way here as well, by the way, to get around some path color issues, I've used the triangle diagonal roof piece and tried to shade that into a color that matches the paths. I'm going to make it slightly darker now, but that's going to be my method there for doing some diagonal pathing, because I love to do nice curvy and diagonal pathing normally in my parks, and that was really hard with this map, so I've done my best. Now I'm just going to add like a little frame around the Ferris wheel base, so that you can kind of see that it's not really on the actual pier itself, it's kind of like sticking out a bit, and I'm just doing like an extra little frame there using some border pieces, some wooden beams, etc. And then I'm just going to put a fence around the rest of the pier there. I think on the back side of the coaster, I'm going to do a really cool backstage area. I say really cool, it's probably not going to be that cool, but I'm going to do a backstage area on the backside. I think that will fit in quite nicely with how the coaster is, having that lift hill there kind of block the back area off. And then the front area, of course, is just water, but hopefully I can think of something cool to do on the water. I'm going to have a little think and a play around with that one. The only annoying thing in this map is actually the entrance to the park. I put it in a real weird place for what I'm doing, so that's not very good. Right now I'm tackling a planter, and my method was to use the monorail track, and I think that worked out so cool. I'm really actually proud of how that worked. And then I filled in the gap using a circular path cover, and then now I've got like a nice planter area. I'm going to do a water tower. As you know, that California's Adventure is obviously a Disney park, and I wasn't sure whether my Paradise Pier here should have like a Disney thing going on or not. I was going to add some ears onto the top of the water tower to make it like a Disney water tower, and then I decided not to, because if I do it there, I'm going to have to try and add in other Disney stuff around the rest of the map, and I just wasn't really sure if that was a good direction to go in with this one. So I left the ears off, and I've decided just to make it a non-Disney Paradise Pier. But yeah, that was something I wasn't sure about, because obviously this is based off a Disney park, so yeah. So most of this structure, the framework, the supports for this coaster, I have done them off camera, or I've just cut the footage out because it was quite boring and tedious. You know how it works, you can kind of see how I do it. I'm just going ahead though and adding some circular cylinder shapes to the footers, just to make that look a little bit better. And now I'm just recoloring the train. I thought I'd do like a nice gradient would be quite nice. So one train is going to be blue and the other train is going to be a gradient in red. So I think that looks really, really cool. And also I love how the loop of the coaster is actually like directly over the pier area. So it makes like a really cool focal point for the guests walking up and down the pier. So I thought that was quite nice. So now I'm just kind of figuring out, okay, I got some planter areas, putting some sand in as well to give it like this kind of beach pier kind of vibe. And now it's time to start adding in a few little buildings. So I thought it'd be quite nice to do like maybe like a shop or like an arcade type building here. There's a nice gap for it, and next to this building is actually like a staff path area, which connects to the backstage part. So I'm going to do like a archway kind of building here, which will be fenced off, and it will be for staff only. But I thought it'd be quite nice to dress it up a little bit and do something there. I'm actually using some reference photos from Paradise Pier, for when it was Paradise Pier, and those are kind of helping me with my color choices and kind of some of the pieces I'm using while building. I just need to figure out how to do things because I'm so not used to doing vanilla. It just takes me a little bit longer to figure out what I'm going to do. Like here I've just used a square shape there to fill in that kind of wall area, which actually looks kind of cool, and you can't see that it's really cubes, so that's nice. And then I've got this nice kind of blue building here, which is a journey. I cut out a lot of the footage of me like messing around because it did take a long time to try and figure out what I was really trying to do. But I'm really happy with how it turned out, to be honest. It's quite basic and it's not the most detailed building in the world. I do, I do agree that it's not the best, but I think it's pretty, it's nice, it does the job, and it fits nicely in with the rest of the kind of theme that I'm going for. So I was looking for like a really nice fence piece or like a grill to go around the edge. I couldn't really find one, so I ended up just using the chocolate, which actually I think works quite nicely. So I've put the chocolate in white there, put that around the edge there as like a trim. Gives it like a little bit more of a texture or something. And then also the race barriers, I've decided to color those in different than red and white, of course, and put those as like a trim around the edge as well. Just gives it like a little bit of a different aesthetic. I quite like it, so that's a happy accident, if you will. I just kind of did it just to see what it would look like. And now it's time for me to make a sign, and I built the sign first, and then I couldn't get the text to go in the center, as I explained before, which is really annoying because the text can't move up and down like freely, which is just really annoying when I'm so used to doing that on Construction Anarchy. You can just move the text sign anywhere, and then with Freedom you can rotate and tilt the text sign. So that's just, you know, something I love to do and I can't do it, so it's really annoying. The sign is pretty basic at the moment, so I'm just going to try and dress it up a little bit, add some other little things to it to make it look a little bit more special. So I'm using text mod. I'm going to add some, well, my idea was to do like a nice swirly pattern. It wasn't really going too well, so I've got just like two like rings on the end, and then I've used the candy cane to kind of make like these cool circular kind of archway bits, and then I'm just popping some shapes in between those candy canes there just to make it look a little bit different. And to be honest, I kind of like how it looks. I think it looks kind of pretty. It looks a little bit different. I just need to play around with the colors and get a color that I'm happy with for this. And then I just need to do the walls and stuff and fence off some areas. I want to do a custom fence, so I'm going to take like a normal wall. I've done it quite dark at the moment, but I'm going to lighten it up later on. The colors are always subject to change, of course, when I'm building stuff. Now I'm adding like a circular trim along the top, which I can kind of use then as a motif throughout the rest of the whole pier, so everything ties in quite nicely. And then I'm going to add like some details on the side of it, but I get back onto that in a second. I just wanted to do the entrance for the actual coaster itself. I wanted to do like an Art Deco type style entrance, and I don't know if I really did it any justice. I don't know if I'm like totally happy with how this turned out. It looks a little bit basic and it's just a bit random, but you'll see me build it anyway. It's okay, it's not the worst, but it's not the best either. So I wanted to do it red, have like a nice little tower, and then have like a nice little like text sign on the front of there so you know what the coaster is and what you're queuing for, and just to have like a nice little marquee for the ride. And then put some orb lights, of course, around there as well, so it's pretty at night time. I've actually dotted some orb lights around the whole map, up the lift hill of the coaster as well, so that it is pretty at night time. I also dressed up this little kind of walkway as well underneath the loop, which I think I did off camera as well. But I'm going to add some orb lights to that as well in a second, just to make that look pretty as well. And then obviously some seating areas and some umbrellas to give it that kind of pier seaside type feeling. Just going to dot those around. Of course, I forgot that there isn't like a circular picnic table or something, so I've had to make one using some shapes in the pillar, and then I didn't put any chairs or anything down because I couldn't find any, so I'm just gonna like have this as like standing tables. So that's my logic for that one. Now I just have to add a sign to the front of the coaster entrance, and of course like a little nod to the Californian Screamer, which is now called the Incredicoaster. I've called this the Screamer. So quite simple, very basic name, but it fits with the whole kind of style and the whole theme of the whole thing quite nicely, I think. Adding in some more sandy areas there, and you may see as well, there is actually like this sign that I've made on the side of the Ferris wheel, and I absolutely hate it, so that is going to go soon and I'm going to do a new one. I just wanted to do another kind of walkway underneath the coaster here, using some shapes and things just to make it look a little bit more pretty, so that the pier has these two walkways underneath the coaster as you walk along it. So that's why I've done that, and I wanted to add some orb lights as well to that, so that it's a little bit more pretty at night time as well. Oh, and here's the lights that I add to this other walkway as well, or passageway. And just a little quick look at night times to see how it's all looking. Of course, I'm going to go in and add more lighting in later on when the whole map is a little bit more complete. So now back over to the Ferris wheel and the sign. I wanted to try and play with the candy canes again, but that wasn't working out. It worked really well on the other building, but not for this, unfortunately. So then I was trying to think what I could do, and then I ended up going to the borders, and there's nice curved borders, so I thought they would be quite nice to use. oh, first of all, no, I try out this funny archway that didn't look good at all. So now I've gone back to the borders and I've just tried to like lay them down, cross them over, etc., and just kind of get like a nice pattern going on, but that wasn't really working out either as well. So I kind of deleted a few and minimized what I was doing, and then I ended up coming up with this very kind of basic looking sign. But do you know what? It looks okay. I'm not mad about it. I just need to add a little Paradise Pier sign there in the middle, and I think it looks better than the previous one that was there. So the last thing to do here is just to add like a path cover to the backstage area using a shape again. And this is basically going to set me up for when I come back and start building some backstage areas. And I can put some trucks and cars down and make some like utility buildings, that kind of thing, which I think will be really nice and will fit very nicely in the back part of this park. Thank God for the shapes. So I know I'm so lost without some of the pieces that I normally use. And the shapes are really helping me out. So that's been really, really good, especially those diagonal shapes that came with the second DLC. I think the Booms and Blooms, the diagonal shapes have been a great help. So I've been able to do those path covers there along the back. I think doing things in diagonal sometimes just looks really, really cool. Anyway, I'm going to leave you now with a screenshot of the process that I've done so far. A big shout out to my Patreons. Thank you guys for supporting me. And don't forget to subscribe and give me a thumbs up. And I'll see you all next time here for another episode on my channel. Bye.